the scheduled meeting time of 55 minutes to an hour in order to not abuse our county employees who've already worked a full day and now are here tonight. We're going to be using a clock for time discussion for the public as well as ourselves. Commissioner Boyd will be our timekeeper. She'll be keeping time the whole meeting and for each speaker and each item that we discuss. Depending on the length of a budget request, of which we have only two, one old and one new, we will determine whether the time needs to be extended by voice vote. The other budget requests are federal funds and are for county commission information only, so they will probably be just sent on to the consent agenda. So first thing we need to do is have our invocation. Let's go to our Father in prayer. Lord, we are grateful that each and every day that we can wake up, be of sound mind, have our health, which is so fragile. We ask that your hand be upon this county, upon these people, protect them, keep them safe from all the things that are alien and foreign to them, all the threats that are out there. Lord, be with us as we deliberate this evening. Give us wisdom to make those decisions that are right in your sight and right for this county. We ask this in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda with, first of all, a resolution of which we have two versions, and also number two, an investigation that may lead to forming an ad hoc committee or more work for the Gen Ops Committee of the Infinity Pipeline and the Sumner County Board of Education. I'd like to place these in new business and make these items B and C. Do I have a second?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, what was that motion again?
I'd like to add, first of all, the resolution of which we have two versions. Ben, do you have those versions?
I have those, Mr. Chairman. I guess that would be B.
That would be B.
Okay.
And then number two would be the investigation for the Infinity Pipeline and the Sumner County Board of Education.
Chairman, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
Under report chairman, we have the TCA 4906-1019, which is the statute that's referenced in this.
Yeah.
And this is on there under
I know
that.
it's already on there. We can probably skip that since it is in the resolution.
Okay.
Okay. So, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? I now move that we approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
First, second.
Who seconded it?
I did.
Okay.
Remind everyone we have a guest minute taker, so please state your name when you make a motion or make a second.
Yeah, it would, we drew a schematic, but it still would help her to do that. Okay. On the approval of the minutes from 3 October, I'd like to make a motion to amend those minutes by adding under the new business item A, after the amendments 3 and 4, where it says after failed due to a lack of second, I'd like to add the sentence, all other budget amendments passed. Okay? So is everybody there to the minutes? First thing, new business, where it says Sumner County Board of Education amendments for approval. Motion made, Commissioner Rogers, failed due to a lack of second. What I would like to add is all other, well, first of all, after the amendments, put 3 and 4, which was the one that failed due to a second. Okay? And then at the end where it says failed due to a lack of a second, the sentence, all other budget amendments passed. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Now move that we approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second, Miller.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Okay. Okay, we now move on to recognition of the public. As for recognition of the public, we will hold to a 15-minute time frame, which is 1/4 of the allotted meeting time, and I think that's fair. We will start with well, we've got quite a few people here, so we'll probably go to 3 minutes, depending upon how many people signed up. We have a lot. If there are others who wish to speak but don't get a chance in the allotted time, we may let them talk if we finish the committee meeting early, or if you, we will hold this list right here, and you get to speak at the next committee meeting next month, okay? So before you do speak, please state your name and address for the record. First one that signed up.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I don't think we're allowed to do that in our rules. In fact, we had a specific,
What's that?
we can't limit the public. In fact, I remember we had a specific,
Well, we've got only an hour.
I understand that, but I think we talked about that and we did a full commission
Well,
vote.
in the full commission, we.
I
I just want to make sure
I
we're not
discussed
going to
this
come back
with
and.
the chairman. It's, the full commission has very specific rules for public comment. Those rules were not included in the sections on committees.
Okay.
The committee chairmen have always had great deference in how they wish to run their meetings. Some people do public comment as they go on agenda items. Some hold it strictly to this portion of the agenda.
Sure.
It's always been up to their discretion.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're not overstepping and causing more issues for us later down the road.
If it's a rule someone would want to change later, they could, but as of right now, this
Good
is
deal.
fine.
First one we have is Patricia Smith.
You want me just to stand
Just
here?
state your name.
All right, my name is Patricia Smith. I live at 112 England Place in Hendersonville, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the approval of the Safe Schools money that the board was not able to approve the last meeting. My grandchildren attend Sumner County schools, and currently they have aspects of safety technology that link them with the Sumner EMS and the Sumner County Sheriffs. They partnered with the schools to develop these techniques, these technologies. There are purchases that are needed that are on hold due to the county commission delaying the approval process. And I just really want to encourage you as fiscally responsible leaders to claim this money that is being given to us. $500,000 from the state. It's a grant with no strings. Please do this. The lives of our students and teachers should matter at the utmost. We don't want to become another statistic. There are children with learning differences who work on programs all day that track progress, and it's a good thing. Technology is a good thing. Again, the safety of those in Sumner County schools should be a priority. Please approve this amendment request. Thank you.
Jesse McKinney.
Hi, that's me. Thanks for giving us some time to speak. I'm going to be real quick so you can get to business. My address is 209 Waterview Drive, and my name is Jessie McKinney. And I'm also speaking, asking you to approve the amendments 3 and 4 for our Safe Schools grant. I have children in Sumner County schools, and I am a fan of the STARS counseling programs, and I know that's one of the positions, and that's part of that money, is to create a STARS counselor at Liberty Creek High School, and I think that they deserve that counseling. I also want my children's schools to have the best technology to keep them safe, upgraded systems, whether it's a panic alarm or a first alert system or the visitor management system that scans my driver's license every time I go into schools and runs a background check on me to make sure I'm safe to be there. I want those to be updated, and I just want to speak on behalf of being a parent in the district that I am in favor of those amendments going forward tonight. Thanks.
Rebecca Goddard.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Goddard, and I'm at 2339A New Hope Road, Henderson. I have 2 boys in Sumner County schools, and I moved here from California just recently, so this is my first go around with the schools, and I want to tell you how safe I think your schools are. in California, it is willy-nilly, anybody can walk onto any campus at any time with no fence, no gate, no lock, no anything. Anybody can walk into any classroom at any time. With that being said, I appreciate all of the safety measures that Sumner County has put in place for our kids, and it's still shocking to me how safe it actually is. And with that being said, I appreciate at Beach High School, at least, my one son is severely disabled, and the safety measures that you have to keep him safe physically and contained in a classroom, I appreciate. I'm not educated enough to say where this $500,000 is gonna go. I don't ever think that grant money comes with no strings attached. I just am smart enough to know that. Because any money from the government always has a string or a thing or a kickback to someone. And before you vote on how we spend our money, please make sure that you have overturned every stone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Marlis Boyce?
My name is Marlis Boyce, 1050 Glenbrook Way in Hendersonville. So this is a little bit different than what other people have been saying, but we all know data collecting is a concern for many with children in school. It has recently come to my attention that Sumner Schools has a program that is being considered or recently implemented called U Science. And it's one word, it's YOU Science, so that's one word. Is the Education Committee aware of this, and do parents know about it? Looking at the U Science website, it says that it is used by nearly 1 million students in thousands of school districts to create hyper-personalized pathways. We use proprietary artificial intelligence to uncover student aptitudes, then connect these aptitudes to careers and educational pathways designed to help students find relevance in school and confidence beyond. So while I see the importance and helpfulness of this program, I'm wondering if anyone knows what data is collected, who has access to it, how is it stored, is it secure, will it be sold or shared with anyone outside of the school system? Like, for instance, say my child, he answers a question with, I don't like working with people. Will that hinder him with getting a job in the future? Like, where does that data go? Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Marie Mobley.
Well, I actually signed up thinking that this was attendance, and I'm an old woman. But I am one that has been involved with my children when they were growing up in school. I was there doing plays. I was making costumes. I was doing all that. And it was a very free time. We didn't have all the computers. We didn't have all this digital stuff. And children were allowed to play. They didn't feel like they were being monitored. And I think we've overdone it. And it's sad for me. And I think you can put all these computers and you can have all these cameras, but this child is being monitored from the time he enters that premises and you don't even feel like you're allowed to engage as a parent in that stuff. And I think that's really decreased the ability for that child to grow. He can't choose who his friends are. I noticed when my children were in, they weren't in the same class with the same children every year. They never did get to nurture long-term friends. Like I just went back to my 50th reunion, and I got to see kids that I was in school in elementary. It was so wonderful. My child will never have that, and he's 35 years old. But each time we layer another thing to protect him, but you're monitoring him. Everybody will not have any personal life. It's going to be a chart. And you're telling him what he's going to do when he gets old. I wish we didn't do that. My son wanted to take mechanics, and they said, no, you can't take car mechanics because your grades are too good, you're gonna go to college. And to this day, he suffered. He still got a college degree, but what he really wanted to do was work on cars. So I'm just saying, sometimes we can tell a kid what he's gonna do at first grade, second grade, third grade, and not allow him to explore. And I just hope that we'll all think about that. Not everybody's going into a school and shooting them up, but we sure are making our children feel like they're in prison. And they'll never learn everything their potential would be by doing this. That's what I'll say. Thank you.
Melody Saudry.
It's Vaudry.
Oh,
Yeah,
Vaudry.
it's
okay.
Melody
Yes,
Vaudry. And I'm just gonna be honest, I didn't realize safe schools had anything to do with, the safety of our kids. I love that. I learned that, picking up a little boy in kindergarten when my daughter, who's 42 now, was at beach. And just going to pick him up to come play, and his mom got the call, and it was like, you know, I was kidnapping him, but I loved it. And I'm like, that's awesome. That part I like. But if you're going to bring in social workers, which is what I've heard, that there will be a group of social workers coming in and teaching our kids about emotional learning, I prefer them not to learn that from them.
Right.
Let's learn reading, writing, arithmetic, and let the parents be concerned about the emotional health of our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Time for one more person.
Got
Or
one more.
3 minutes.
Okay. Megan Brunick.
Hi, I'm Megan Brennick. I'm at 171 Winbrook Chase in Hendersonville. As a parent of a child at Sumner County Schools, very disappointed that we have not yet approved these federal dollars for our schools. Parents of children with 504 and IEP plans are well aware that our children are being tracked on a regular basis. It's why and how we are able to get access to services that our kids need. And we are also aware that these things that half the school population has in elementary and all of the school population has in high school track us on a daily basis way more extensively than the improvement tracking that will happen with the Safe Schools program. The data that they're asking for is to help our children improve. And my child, who has a 504 plan, deserves access to behavioral specialists who can help her improve her ability to succeed in the school. My child, who has been fairly extensively bullied at school, deserves access to people who can help her process those issues and those problems, and who can work with the children to come together and move past the problems that they've dealt with. So I'm asking that you not deny our county these dollars, because these dollars will just go away if we don't take access to them. And then I'm asking that you protect my child by giving her access to what the schools have asked for, whether that's behavioral specialists, whether that's technology improvements to keep them safe. Dear friends of mine are from Oxford, Michigan. I have family in that area as well. And I can tell you right now, every single one of them wishes that they had had more dollars to keep their schools safe so that they did not have that school shooting last year. And every one of them would tell you they did not have enough behavioral therapists and behavioral specialists and social workers on hand to help their children deal with the aftermath of that tragedy. We just had a hijacking at Beach High School just this past week. That is unacceptable, and our children need access to these dollars so that we can keep them safe. Thank you.
Okay, that closes our recognition of the public. I'd like to move on with,
I agree, disagree. You did not call my name,
we only allotted 15 minutes.
but I have the right to be heard.
I said that there'd be 15 minutes allotted for this time.
For me to be heard, I would appreciate it.
Ma'am, I said that there'd be 15 minutes, and we really went over that time. all the people, Sarah Squire, Pat Connor, Kevin Baggett, and Charlena Allmiller will have the chance to speak at the end of the meeting if we finish early. And if not, you'll be able to speak at the next committee meeting.
As the former Safe Schools Coordinator for Sumner County Schools, it may be best if I'm heard first. I don't know. I'll leave that up to you.
Okay. So we move on to the chairman's report. On 19 October, I had a meeting with Scott Langford, Amanda Brown, and the appropriate heads of each department concerning how budget requests were being presented to the Education Committee. We came together in agreement with that Amanda Brown would put forth a department memo to explain all of the vague and nondescript machine language of each request so that it can be approved by this committee without a lot of questions. And if you'll notice on here that we already have these memos in there. I think this is a big step forward because I had to ask for, since the 23rd of September, whenever I had a meeting with, just a little personal meeting at the Board of Education with Dr. Phillips, and he agreed that he'd do it, but we finally got it on the 19th of October. These explanations, we don't have to play 20 questions anymore and can't expedite these requests. Second thing I'd like to talk to, if you'll go ahead and turn to the part right here where it has Justia, the code this law that we're looking at. The 2020 Tennessee Code titled 49 Education Chapter 2, Local Administration Part 3, County Administration Director of Schools. Now, dealing with paragraph B, number 1, it is the duty. We're looking at the duties of the Director of Schools. And I'd like to go to subparagraph Q, if you would. It's the very last one on page number 2. It says, make a written report quarterly to the appropriate local legislative body, which is us, for the board for all receipts and expenditures of the public school funds, which accounts shall contain full information concerning the conditions, progress, and needs of the schools, of the school system, and which shall be audited by the appropriate fiscal officer and local legislative body. So I would like to get this started at least in January. Now, this past month, it should have been done, since it is done on a quarterly basis, but I believe that we can at least get this started. Mr. Rhodes, you got a question?
No.
Oh, okay, I thought I saw some puzzlement on your face.
Mr. Chairman, is Q, would that not be the school board?
No, it says there, it says right there, Director of Schools.
I mean, as far as Q, the local legislative body for the
That's
board.
us. That's us.
Okay, I haven't had a time to read this, it was just passed out, but you're saying
Well, it was-
this is the
yeah, well, it was sent
education
out
committee?
last week.
Okay.
In fact, I sent it to you again.
Since it's speaking specifically of funding on this,
Okay.
this would be the appropriate legislative body.
So, like I say, I'm just making that known that I don't think it's been done, but we would like to see that done from now on, starting in January. Number 3, I'm also concerned about the new CDC ruling placing the Wuhan virus vaccination on the public school immunization schedule for all students. The emergency use of these vaccinations runs out in 2023, which shields the makers of these vaccines from lawsuits by the federal government. By placing it on the immunization schedule, the CDC is continuing the shielding for Pfizer, Moderna, and other manufacturers. Governor Lee has signed an executive order mandating that no Tennessee student will be required to get it. Our schools have taken the federal grant money tied to the ESSER funds with strings attached to the Wuhan virus. However, this directive has not been the case in our Sumner County schools when laws were passed to restrict offensive, age inappropriate, and sexually explicit textbooks and library books. Wit and Wisdom was adopted anyway, and the purchase of library books that have transgressed these laws have been placed in our school libraries. hope that we can get assurance that the governor's executive order will be followed and not circumvented by our Board of Education.
That's right.
Number 4, I will go ahead and acquiesce since we are considering the resolution on that, and I won't worry about that. I do have some comments about that. I am surprised that Tennessee had to make a law such as 4906-1019. I'm surprised we had to do that, had to write such a law to be this specific when we already have laws on the books about various discriminations, age appropriateness for minors, the innocence of our children, and willful perversion of our children by adults. The reason being is that we have adults and educators who are trying to skirt these laws, trying to find some loophole or push the envelope. Through the Wuhan pandemic and its necessarily long shutdowns and ill-advised mandates, not to disparage those who died through poor medical protocols in hospitals and nursing homes and fatal comorbidities, parents became aware of the curriculum with which their children were being indoctrinated. Parents became engaged because the curtain had been pulled back through the Zoom classes online about the inappropriate content of curriculums, indoctrination, and books that had been in our children's classrooms. Due to this law, Williamson County is now involved in a lawsuit due to its adoption of the Great Minds publisher of Wit and Wisdom for English and Reading in their curriculum, which we have in our schools also. Great Minds has tried to be edgy in this curriculum, which was passed as the last item on the agenda one night with no discussion whatsoever at the Sumner County Board of Education. Another library book, Dragon Wings by Lawrence Yep, which is currently in the libraries of Merrill Hyde Magnet, Gallatin High School, and Sumner Station Camp High School, had another parent, David Coleman of Blount County, as the first person to pursue the prohibited concepts violation up to Commissioner Swin because of its defamation of white Americans throughout its 300-plus pages. A petition circulated online called for the district to remove the novel from its curriculum because of racism, foul language, underage drinking, violence, drugs, prostitution, and alcohol. Union Grove Middle School principal John Webb told parents they would no longer be teaching it. He said, "Our students have been studying the novel, which was included in our state-approved curriculum. A materials review team has recommended that the inclusion of the book be discontinued at this time in Blount County schools. That review was conducted in accordance with the Blount County Schools Policy 4.403, according to the district. The book calls white Americans white demons because a white man throws a brick through the window of the laundromat of a young Chinese boy's first night in San Francisco, giving him a taste of the racism and xenophobia that his father and other Chinese immigrants have faced the whole time that they've been there. I recommend that the book be pulled from the school libraries and placed in public libraries due to the same reasons that Blount County had." Okay, moving on. Report from the mayor.
Thank you for the time trying to make these meetings more concise. However, I do want to say one thing, that I do have a problem limiting the citizens' voice. I think citizens at every meeting have the right to speak, so I just want that known. But I do appreciate you trying to make these meetings more concise. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to old business. Budget requests 3 and 4. If you'll go ahead and get that out, I'd like to walk through this request now that we have a description of all these items finally from the Board of Education.
So moved. You looking for a motion so we can talk about it?
Yeah. Okay.
Second.
Second. Okay, all those in favor? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Is everybody there?
Okay.
Yes. All of these line items are coded for the central office, hence the 7095. None are a particular school because all schools have their own 7000 designation code. first 8 are under the fund of other student support. The next 7 are under the fund of regular instruction program. And the last one is under the fund of operation of a plant. Supplemental pay and benefits for a guidance counselor are in the first 5 line items. Other contracted services are for STARS counselors at Liberty Creek High School, whose code is 7077 instead of 7095. However, all contracts are paid at the central office for STARS, hence the 7095 coding. Some schools needed updated security signage, and that's what that next one is for. The next item is the annual Peace Officer Standards and Training Post Certification for SROs this next June 2023. This is just an estimation, as was pointed out at the 3 October meeting, due to the round number that we have there of 85,000. I don't know why we're funding it this early when it is over 8 months away. And when it was first presented to us at 3 October, it was 9 months early. Some miscellaneous benefit accounting, the next 4 lines, and then we have some estimated mileage not paid to Safe Schools personnel, since it is a credit of $2,000. The next item is Red Ribbon Week, and it went off without a hitch this past week without this money, $3,275.27, because my grandsons told me the activities that they were doing each day when I picked them up from school. The other charges, we have Safe Schools cell phone contract for 12 cell phones, Safe Schools Department copier contract, and then lastly, there's character education curriculum for state requirement. Then we have the last thing there, the administration equipment for operation of the plant. This is the line that received so much attention and was misrepresented as just panic buttons needed in the schools by some individuals, and selectively edited video and social media. Panic buttons are in every school and have been in these schools since the inception of a public address system, intercom system in a school. I don't think there's anyone here at this table that has not been in a school that had a public address system, except maybe Commissioner Hyde. I don't
That's probably true. That woke me up.
But anyway, I mean, maybe they were using smoke signals or something like that. A description for this was given, and when I asked which school needed it, it was just given as a county-wide need. Remember, this line item is coded 7095 for the central office. For this amount on this line item, $174,200, the amount of each of these items cannot be very much when you research how much each of these items cost. Radios, security cameras, laptops for the SROs, visitor management equipment, and an upgrade to the countywide digital panic alarm system. Radio system has been in place that the Board of Education wants to upgrade their system to since the 25th of February 2019. And let's see. This is the resolution that was done right here. I'll read it. Be it resolved by the Sumner County Board of County Commissioners meeting on regular session on this 25th day of February 2019, that this body does hereby appropriate $8,350,000 from local capital project fund restricted fund balance for countywide two-way communication system for the Emergency Management Agency, as shown on the attachment herewith. So, I ask, what has taken so long? If this has been in existence since 2019, what has taken so long? Why does it have to be immediately? The Board of Education drugged their feet for 4 years, and they have to have it now. Dale Phillips signed this document right there, as well as Sonny Weatherford. So you got your sheriff and your director of schools that know about this. and they're both stakeholders in it. Now, according to Ken Widener, and we do have him here tonight, the county EMA director, the county installed approximately 227 new radios and buses in 2020 and 112 portable radios for every school on 17 June 2022. Every school got 2 portables on the new county radio system, in addition to the SROs having their own radios, who are also on the county radio system. Every school has their own frequency. There are 12 frequencies used across the county, and these are within the schools themselves. The schools chose to continue to use their analog systems they have used for years. Panic alarms originally were, and still are, on a system called VARDA. When a panic button in the office is pushed, a radio transmission automatically goes out to law enforcement countywide. The old equipment, which is analog, doesn't work on the new system, digital. This has been a known issue for several years, and at this point I'll let Director Widener explain this a little bit further.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners. So, the system was purchased by the county it actually started in the 2000s. And we started putting communications towers up through grants to get our infrastructure built out. So when we got to a point where we had enough infrastructure, we started approaching the county commission. And in 2018, 2019 is when we really started working on seeking that approval. So we were actually funded about $9 million, and we need a little bit more to put another tower up. So we're a little shy of $10 million on this system. And it is an APCO P25 Phase 2 digital trunk system. It's a high-end computer-operated system. Every public safety agency, police, fire, EMS, drug task force, Ball State Community Campus Police, Sumner Schools and Sumner Highway, volunteer fires, city fires, every police department, every fire department is on this system. We've got about 2,300 users, 2,389 users. And a user or a subscriber unit is a radio. So every police officer has a portable and a mobile in their car. Volunteer fire, they typically have radios in their apparatus, and the firefighters carry radios. So it's a very robust system with a lot of subscribers on it, all right? And, but this system is different than the system, the analog system that was run on the old panic alarms at the schools. I can't speak to which schools have them. I can speak to this, that on our old system, which was analog repeaters, individual standalone repeaters in every city. Volunteer fire was on one VHF system. The exception to that was Shackle Island and Number 1. They had their own standalone UHF repeaters on a different band. So we were so fragmented across the county on different bands that people that needed to talk to each other couldn't. So it's given us a great deal of interoperability and been a very good system to this point. And the old system, the old repeaters we were on are our backups. So those repeaters are still standing, they're still in operation. We test those monthly. We just, what we call bump the repeater. We key it up, we listen to it, or I'll talk to one of my guys on it to make sure they're still in operation. They're in place in case this system crashes. Anything subject to crash, we know that. That's our backup, and we've got a plan to go in place to go to backup if that occurs, if we lose the primary system, the new system. So bottom line on the panic buttons, they don't work on, the old systems don't work on the new digital system. Now, what was done with them in 2021, so we started cutover in late, in August of 20. And we started the cutover in August of 20 and through 21. And when I say cutover, that's taking the first agency that went was EMS. So we got all the radios in place, we got them ready, we cut them over, we took them off the old system, put them on the new system. So they were kind of our test on the front end to make sure everything was doing like it was supposed to. Then Portland PD, Sumner County Sheriff's Office, Hendersonville Fire, and then through the first of 21, we started cutting everybody else over. We got everybody else cut over. When schools got back in, we put schools on it. So at some point in 21, we do not monitor the analog backup repeaters. Nobody listens to those. So the panic alarms are designed to if let's just say a bank teller is there and somebody comes in, this is a robbery. They hit a button. Okay, and that goes out, that goes to a 911 center. All right, but this system is typically located in the office. When they hit that button, it's automatically transmitted on the radio system to the local municipal police department. So at Hendersonville High School, it would go to Hendersonville Police Department, dispatch, and to Sumner County Sheriff's Office. In Portland, same thing. In the cities that these are in, that's where they would go to. So it's an instantaneous transmission, so the people that are there, that are on patrol, hear it, and they immediately drive towards that school, where you don't have the downtime of 911. 911 is your emergency, and they ask 100 questions that you don't want to answer, but they're going to ask, because that's what our TCs do, our telecommunicators do. They're going to have people en route, but it's not going to be as quick as this. So the value of this is it gets people en route very quickly, and the bottom line is the old equipment won't work on the new system. And I'll answer any questions you've got beyond that. Is that what you're looking for, Mr. Chairman?
That's what I was looking for. Appreciate it.
I do have a question. Does the old system, does it not send out the alert?
It can. I don't know the status of the old system.
I'm just curious.
I don't know the status of it, but there's nobody's home. Nobody's listening to it. So dispatch doesn't listen to it. Hendersonville Police doesn't listen to it. The Sheriff's Office doesn't listen to it. We go to that system if our new system crashes, if we have a problem.
So Ken, what I'm hearing is with the analog right now, if they push the button, nobody's gonna hear that unless they're on that analog system. So
If they're still operating, it'll go out, but there's nobody there to listen to it.
there's nobody there to listen to them. So the button's being pushed, nobody's coming, if nobody's on that signal. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And if they don't have the button, they have to go through the 911
Yeah.
procedure.
If somebody came in or they saw something dangerous and felt they needed help, I'm sure they've got a protocol, which I don't know anything about that, but I'm sure they've got a protocol as to when they do that, when they hit a panic button.
But you also said that each one of the principals have the radios that have the panic
Each
button.
principal office has 2 radios on the system. Yeah.
And the SRO officer also has
And
the same
SROs
radio.
do too.
And with each principal, are we talking every school?
Every school. We delivered 112 portable radios.
So that, what about the panic buttons in this?
I can't answer that, I don't know. I don't know where the panic buttons are. I just know there are panic buttons.
So what would be the difference between the radios and the panic buttons then?
Just like being in the bank. Bank teller,
Know that
if somebody
well.
comes in to rob it, they hit the button. And if somebody says, shots fired, somebody comes in and they try to get into the holding area, for lack of a better term, where you've got to buzz in and go in, and people are creating a ruckus, then they may hit the button. Or if they get a call from somebody on the local radio system that he talked about, the analog radio system, somebody's shooting in Highway 400, whatever, and they'll hit the panic button, and it gets immediate transmission to law enforcement, just law enforcement, that there's a problem at a particular location.
So we're saving a lot of time, basically. I mean, whenever
Really,
you
it saves a lot of time
second counts.
because I think the average time, help me with this, Chief Miller, is probably 4 minutes from call taker getting the call to dispatch units, maybe a little less, and I wish our ECC director were here, but it's somewhere, it's minutes, and minutes matter in active killer situations.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question? As far as the new radios that are in the schools, there's 2 that each school has, in addition to the SROs, and they have panic buttons on them. What do the panic buttons do on those radios when they hit them?
They go straight into dispatch.
So it's like hitting a panic button. The analog is sort of similar, but similar function.
No, they just do an audible tone where, like, let's say a sheriff's deputy or a paramedic or an EMT is somewhere and they're having a problem. I hit my button and it sends an audible tone to dispatch and to everybody else. And we look at that unit ID. So every agency has an agency ID, which is a three-digit number, and a unit ID, which is an officer or a unit number. You hit that button and there's an audible alarm goes off. And I look at those and I see who it is. Dispatch looks at those and they're immediately gonna say, Sumner 27, code 5. And code 5 is asking them, are you okay? If they say anything other than the correct answer, which I'm not gonna tell y'all, we're sending the troops. If they say, hey, everything's 10-4, we're good, there's no problem here. If they don't give the proper answer, the troops are coming to you. So if an SRO is getting his butt handed to him, and he hits that, the troops are coming, but there's no audible transmission that says problem at Beach High School or Gallatin High School.
It just sounds like, Mr. Chairman, for about 2 years, the panic buttons haven't been working as these cutovers been happening. So I just want to make sure this is not a new issue. It seems like a pretty old issue. So.
Yeah. And I do know they've been working on what to put in. I haven't been actively involved in that. I've been involved a little bit in it, but I do know that they've been looking at what to put in it, and I don't know what process they've taken. But I do know they've got a vendor that'll work on this system, because you can't just use anything. You've got to use something that's compatible with the type of encryption we've got, with the system that we've got, and that's a bit of a challenge as well. So.
Anybody else? So, the bottom line is, yes, all the panic buttons, alarms, radios work in the school system. They are able to talk to the needed authorities. This line item was either a backup or for a particular school, since it was coded for the central office, as previously noted, and it wasn't disclosed by Katie Brown, which it was for. When I asked her, she didn't know. The amount was too small since the entire project upgrade, and David, it did go up to $9 million.
Slightly under $9 million.
Yeah, so we started out at $8.5 million, now we're up to $9 million, and only 19,000+ has not been used. So it's all pretty much been used. This item right here just got blown up for no reason, and we needed to do a little bit of investigation. The school district was not in any kind of danger at the point, and so because of that, we just would like to quell all the partisanship and let's work together on this. Anybody else have any discussion on this particular?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
What you just mentioned from the finance director, what did this project initially start at, and what are we up to?
$8.5 million, it's gone to $9 million.
They added another tower in, that's what Mr. Widener was talking about. They didn't get full coverage with the number of towers, so one additional tower had to be added in.
That's not this, that's the total.
Yeah, that's a different.
That was the county-wide
Yeah,
system with
that-
towers, software, everything.
All right, I just want to make sure that we're,
This right here.
I'm sorry, I can't see from,
Well, 2019.
okay.
Yeah.
It's a county-wide system.
I just want to make sure we're not getting the water's muddied up by what we're
No.
actually voting on and what's
No.
coming.
That was a long time ago.
Sure.
If I may, I have a question. Will this provide all of our schools? Did they answer, did you ask them?
Well, as I told you, she could not tell me what this was for exactly. I mean, she told me what it was, but she didn't tell me what it was for.
So we don't know what schools these are, sorry, Mr. Chairman. We don't know what schools these are going into?
I don't think it's going into a school. I think it's just like backup is all it is.
No, my understanding was this will take the push buttons in the schools and the front office from analog to digital in all 44 schools. So as a principal for 18 years, I had a push button that didn't work. So if I'm out of the building as a principal and nobody has my radio, or my radio's out on the back playground, and my receptionist is sitting in the office, now they can push the button, like Mr. Widener was saying, in the bank, and be able to get in touch with the schools, with the law enforcement.
I don't know why our chairman's not talking, because you started the original system, right? Years and years ago, the panic buttons?
It depends on what you're saying.
They'll hide, and let me tell you this. We've canoed a lot of miles together, so I know, believe me. But no, you started the original system. It's pretty much the same analog system we're on. They just need to upgrade it, and it's hardware, software, and 2 radios that go in whatever schools, and I can't answer which schools, to make them work, to make that button work. Okay.
So is
It's
the button
brand-
gonna move from the principal's office to the receptionist? Because you were saying it was in the principal's office.
No, I was referring to the radio that the principal has.
Oh, okay.
The-
So where, do we know where the panic buttons are located? Are they
I
in
don't
the
think we
principal's-
should say that for
They're
safety
typically-
purposes. I'd rather you not answer
They're
that.
typically in the front office. Yes. Yeah.
Because that's usually your main entry point anyway. That's usually the only door people will allow in, should be, I'll put it that way. So, any other discussion?
I do have a concern that I would like to, we're talking about safety and, there's been a lot of chatter. Like you said, this is blown up out of proportion. And there has been some talk about how, we don't care about the safety of the children and things like that, which is completely untrue I think I can speak for everybody at this table, but especially for myself. But I do want to point out that if we're concerned about safety and background checks and people coming through the doors and being checked out, our director of schools hosted a tour for local real estate agents, and there was an email that went out inviting local real estate agents that were part of Sumner County Realtors. And they were allowed to tour the school during school hours, and they were not signed in to the system that you scan your driver's license and things through. And I'm a parent and a county commissioner, and I still have to do that when I go in, and I'm thankful for that. But there were multiple real estate agents that were taken through Liberty Creek High School by Director Phillips, I think 2 weeks ago, without any kind of background checks and during school hours when your children were in school. And I just feel like that is not appropriate and it shouldn't have happened. And so we're being bombarded with, you don't care about our kids' safety, and your director of schools is taking real estate agents that have not been vetted and background checked through the school. It's very dangerous.
Thank you for that. I'd like to make a motion for this.
You have a
budget
motion and a
request.
second, I believe, Mr. Chairman.
We've already made a motion.
Motion and a second, it's already on the table.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed,
Abstain.
okay, passes. Okay, new business. Let's go to budget request number 2, which is the Leap Lottery. This is the only one that we have to look at, and like I say, it's been out since last week. Are there any questions about this?
We get a motion and a second, I believe, Mr. Chairman, so we can start discussion, please. Sure. So we're following rules, I'll make the motion.
Second.
Moved.
Second, Lambert.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. So this is something that I have followed for probably 3 years here in Sumner County. I'm very upset, I guess, for lack of better words, the appearance of this LEAP grant funding here in Sumner County. LEAP grant funding, I think, is a program that's taking advantage of our citizens here in Sumner County, and I cannot vote for this funding to be placed back in the hands of our county. The reason why I say that is typically this is people who are at work beyond the 3 o'clock hour in the afternoon when most Sumner County schools are coming to a close. And we're charging these parents for times to keep their kids after school. That's wrong. I think it's education for profit. We like to hear that policing for profit and other things like that thrown around, so I think that's what I'll call this, education for profit. We're asking for money to be put back into the budget that's outside of contractual hours of our employees that's working. This has been referred to the State Department of Education, has been approved. I've written the State Department of Education asking for clarity. I can't get it. I think that there's some questions of how we're allocating this money and the appearance, if you will, of our grant applications through the LEAP process and the LEAP funding, I guess, through the state. I don't know where we're coming up with vehicles for LEAP. I don't know if any child that's been transported from a school to another school or to their residence that's part of the LEAP Unity program. I don't know of any cafeteria worker that stays outside of their contracted hours that we would be seeking reimbursement for. I don't know of anyone that's working outside of their contracted hours that we would be seeking reimbursement for in any type of this program. I find it rather appalling and sad that we're paying for cell phone services for the workers after school for this program when there's phones inside of our school system that our tax dollars are paying for. That, Mr. Chairman, I will vote no on this.
I understand. I am also concerned about the daycare and after-school care, which is what this is right here, after-school care. And we are getting federal money for, we're getting state money for, and yet parents are being charged.
That's a summary of what I just stated, Mr. Chairman. And furthermore, when you contact these LEAs about what is going on there, I've got it in writing from one principal of this county that states that if I couldn't afford it, then my child will not be able to attend. Is that really what we're supposed to be doing in Sumner County? Denying care for our children that we care so much about? In the long run, I'll vote no.
Is there any other discussion?
I would like to propose that we get more information. This is the first I've heard of this. And if I could get more information, I would enjoy that.
More information of what, I'm sorry?
About how the funding is coming into the program.
I'll be happy to explain to it. It's through, they're going to describe it as pass-through money from the state that comes from the Federal Department of Education, and it's just a filter through the state. I'll be happy to give you 3 years of records that I've obtained from Commissioner Swinn's office, emails that I have that's on and on and on. It's really and truly, the matter comes from how it's being reported to the state asking for the funding. Back when we had our special call session, I asked the very question, maybe for a reason, of the 73,300 line item, is that anything that's holding of the LEAP grant? And I was told, no, the no LEAP grants funds in there. We have our own bookkeeper that does all those fundings and all of that stuff. Well, here we are with this LEAP grant funding that's supposed to go back into that. But if we've got a carryover of the amount of money that we have a carryover with, then why are we charging $150 a semester for some of these kids to be staying at our after-school programs? That's ridiculous. And why are we getting money from the state for cafeteria workers? Why are we getting money for transportation? These kids are still at the school, the same school that the parent drops them off at, and the grandparent or parent picks them up in the afternoon before 6 o'clock. There's no transportation involved.
What is the Unity bus?
That's my point. That's what I'm saying. There's no bus that I'm aware of that transports students to and from.
So so you're saying they're charging parents on top of getting state funding for this, and then they're turning around
Correct.
and charging them?
May I just say there is a Unity bus that takes these children. They're transported afterwards, and that's outside the bus driver's normal hours.
I would like to know which schools those are at, Mr. Chairman, and point of order, I mean, I think we need to keep it at the table, but
I'm sorry.
due to time constraints, but
What school? What school?
I think,
You don't
does
know?
anybody ask?
Well, I'm asking.
Back here.
Well, she said yeah, she agreed.
school?
Okay, go, what school?
He's asking you.
I'm the
to
nurse
say.
at Gallatin High School.
Gallatin High School.
And the bus driver that has to transport my tray has to leave in time to do her regular bus route, and then Monday through Thursday, she drives Unity.
Okay.
So I can't tell you which elementary she drives, but she's a Unity bus driver.
So there's one.
So, and I apologize for both.
Then I would candidly submit then, Mr. Chairman, we have not an equal opportunity for education across our county. If that's the case, why is our northern part of the county having to be treated different? And this is federal and state funding. Again, that's more the reason I'll vote no.
Is there any other discussion we need to do on this?
Call for question.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we refer this to old business, let us get some more information before we make a decision.
You're going to amend the original motion, second that's on the floor, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, well, just for discussion. So I want to amend that and just say that we refer it back to old business. Can I get a second on that?
I second that. I'd like to get a little more information when someone from the school system can come and be here, and that's not a school board meeting night.
So all those in favor of moving this to old business, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Okay, we have run out of time. Does anybody want to make a motion that we extend time for about 10 more minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I ask a question to resolve the remaining matters, B and C. Is that something that we need to take up today, or can that be rolled to next month?
That can go into to old business too, because I know we don't have anybody here from the school board that can answer C, which is the Infinity Pipeline issue. And the other, the resolution, we can hold on that also.
So can I make a motion to defer to these to December's meeting?
Okay.
Second. Miller, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. So,
Then, Mr. Chairman, I think, and I'm not trying to run your committee, under 10A there, all those remaining, would you entertain a
Yeah.
motion to group and
well,
approve?
those, like I say, those right there, make a motion for 108 to 286 to be placed in the consent agenda. Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay. So that takes care of everything.
Motion adjourned.
Motion adjourned. Second.
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 All those in favor?
Did,